Welcome, my friends. Alonzo here from synthwavedojo.com. Today, I'm going to show you how to take an 8-bar loop, or what I call a main stack, and how to turn it into an 80-bar arrangement I call advanced kata. Now, advanced kata, or this 80-bar arrangement, is the third stage in the Synthwave Warrior's journey, and I'll leave a video in the description of this one that talks about the Synthwave Warrior's journey. And you know what? Let me show you what that looks like for the first minute or so of this video. There we go. I'll get to that in a second. But as I said, we're going to do an 80-bar arrangement today, starting from an 8-bar loop. A kata is a specific sequence of fight and defense moves in martial arts that trains you to achieve smoothness and fluidity in your movements, to achieve balance and power and a whole lot of, let's say, of benefits by practicing before you go into sparring, before you go into kumite. All right? The Synthwave Warrior's journey, this is the way that I like to teach how to learn how to synthwave. And we start with the basics. This is the first stage, Kihon, and this is a karate martial arts term referring to the basics. And here's where you learn all about the bass patterns, the drum patterns, the kick, the snare, etc., how to create pads, how to create melodies, how to create chords, right? And the demonstrable skill here is turn all of that into an 8-bar loop that will serve as the foundation for a track. And once you get comfortable with creating 8-bar loops, you can create an 8-bar loop every week, twice a week, 3 times a week, as many as you can at the beginning, right? Then once you get comfortable with that, and it sounds kind of synthwave or in the general context of synthwave, then we go to stage 2, which is the basic kata. It is about turning that 8-bar loop into a 40-bar arrangement. Now, I've shown around 20 times here on the channel how to take how to create an 8-bar loop and how to turn it into a 40-bar track or mini arrangement. I do that every week on the Let's Make Synthwave show. So look up any of those episodes and you see how I create an 8-bar loop and how I turn it into a 40-bar arrangement. And I also have a couple of standalone videos about how to create a 40-bar arrangement. Now, and as I'm sure that if you've been following along, developing your skills, building your skills along the way, you're ready. You've made plenty of these 40-bar arrangements, and you're like, yeah, Alonso, I'm tired of this. I'm ready for the next stage. Okay, so the next stage is stage 3, the advanced kata. And this is turning an 8-bar loop into an 80-bar arrangement. Now, a full-length track or full-length arrangement will generally consist of, I would say, around 110 and 120 bars. Okay, so it's very difficult to go from an 8-bar loop to 110 bars of a full-length track when you don't have the skills, the endurance, and when you don't know how to manage the energy, how to manage the interest in 3.5 or 4 minutes of music. That's why I recommend this kind of milestone approach to developing your endurance, to getting the hang of how to extend an arrangement before you tackle a full-length track. In any case, today we're going to cover stage 3, which is the advanced kata, and really, if I were to do this well, or to do this properly, I think I would spend a good 4 to 5 hours on this exercise alone, turning an 8-bar loop into an 80-bar arrangement. Today, I think I'm going to go over an hour, possibly 2, right? It's not going to be a 4 to 5 hour live stream or video, right? But I just want to cover as much as I can to show you how to get to an 80-bar arrangement. And we're going to use MacGyver's rule a lot, which is use what you have and make decisions quickly along the way. I'm not going for perfection. And certainly some of the things that I'm going to show you, since I'm going for a very strict 80-bar arrangement, they may feel rushed at times, or other times they feel like too long. And it's fine, because this is just an exercise. This is like going to the gym and working out for 45 minutes and just reaping the benefits of that exercise. This is the same with the advanced kata. It doesn't matter too much if certain sections ultimately sound a little rushed, etc. It's just an exercise to help you develop your endurance and to manage the energy and to learn how to create an arrangement. All right, with all of that out of the way, let's see what else we got. We talked about what Kata is. Okay, and I'm going to show you today one type of 80 bar arrangement. Of course, you can tweak it and change it a little to adjust it for your situation, but it's a great way to start practicing this exactly like I'm going to show it to you today. And in case the live stream lags or something, as it has been doing for the past, I don't know, couple of weeks, I'm going to record this and upload it later, so don't worry about it. All right. Let's go into the DAW, my friends. Today we're going to work with an 8-bar loop or main stack that I created yesterday for the Let's Make Synthwave show, episode number 10, and it sounds like this. Okay, this is our foundation or the raw material that we're going to use today. Yesterday, on the Let's Make Synthwave episode number 10, I showed you how to turn this into a 40-bar arrangement. Today, we're going to tackle an 80-bar arrangement. Like I said, buckle up because it's going to take at least a good hour and a half, most likely 2 hours. So, 80 bars of music, and this is a very, I would say, arbitrary arrangement or structure that I came up with. Intro 8 bars, then a verse or build up. It doesn't matter how you call these sections as long as they make sense to you. 16 bars long. A chorus or main section, 16 bars long. Then we're going to have a bridge, 8 bars. Then another round of verse. But this time, it's going to be just 8 bars long, half as the first time. And chorus 2 is going to be 16 bars long, and the outro 8 bars. All of this in total is 80 bars of music. And like I said, maybe you could extend the bridge 16 bars and get rid of this verse and go straight to the chorus, or I don't know, elongate the verse, go with 16 bars and make this chorus shorter, whatever you want. And ultimately, if you change this and you end up with 88 bars, it's not that big of a deal. We're just trying to get a longer distance. Think of this as you're training to run a marathon. You can now run, let's say, 10 kilometers, or that's what, like 6 miles or something. That's the 40-bar arrangement. And this 80-bar arrangement is now like half a marathon, right? It's like halfway there. We still have some room to go, but we want to challenge ourselves, build our skills to go a longer distance. All right. One way that I very much like to approach all my tracks is coming in. I like to lay out some kind of skeleton structure, just as I did here, okay? Sometimes it's a rondo form, which I talked about on my last deconstructed video. Sometimes it's a theme and variations kind of form. Other times it's a verse and chorus kind of form. But I always come in with a plan, and I change the plan as I go along, right? So I'm not too strict on following my initial plan, because as you start putting clips, dropping clips onto the different sections, you see that things, they have to change. Sometimes things feel rushed, or they feel like they're too slow. You need to move faster, so you cut your verse from 16 bars to 8, etc. But in any case, it's a great approach to always come in with a plan. So this is going to be our plan, and we'll see if it changes a little bit or if we just stick to it 100% for the purpose of this exercise. And for me, when I create a main stack like this, I like to do it with 4 or 6 different elements. And for me, an element or a voice or a layer, all the same thing, are, for example, bass, that's one layer, drums, that's one layer. Even though I have the hi-hat, the kick, the snare, the toms, all of that, I consider drums as one element. Then we have, for example, In this case, we have some chords. That's our third element. The pad, fourth element, and the lead. That's our fifth element. Like I said, I like to create my main stacks, the foundation of my full-length tracks, just with 4 to 6 elements. Definitely, I like to have some kind of lead, the hook for my track, bass and drums. Now, whether I have keys or pads or something else, it depends. It varies, but definitely I want to have some kind of hook, right? The lead, something that I listen to and say, yeah, I want to hear how that song ends, right? I want to listen to the finished product, and I don't like to create 12 different parts for my main stack, because I then could have a tendency of wanting to use them all, and that's not necessarily the case. Producing music, writing music, composing is as much how you leave out than how much you put in, right? So always be careful with that. And also, I like to think of this process of arranging an additional composition. I like to think of it also as experimentation and as a process of discovery. Okay, so with going in with these 4 or 5 different parts, I want to discover what else I need here, and I like to find that magic and let myself be surprised by the things that I create along the way. So it's a good way, at least for me, of making this process interesting and leaving surprise and mystery in it. All right, enough of that. So this is my main stack. And what I will typically do is copy my main stack, or however you want to call it, your 8-bar loop, etc. And I'm going to drop this here where it says chorus or main section. Same thing. Okay. Now let me duplicate this thing. All right. Now from here, I never work from the start, like an intro. I never compose that first, or the outro. Like I showed you, I like to start from the chorus, or from the drop, the most important part, and from there move towards the beginning, or then start at the beginning, and from the chorus then move my way to the end, right? So it's not a chronological process where I write the intro, write the verse, etc. So I start at the in the middle and start assigning and laying out my track. Okay, cool. Now let's hear this. Okay, another principle or rule that I use a lot is what I call, or the approach, I don't know, I have to give it a proper term, the 2 halves approach. Okay, from a macro perspective, most of my tracks, you can split them right in the middle. You have the first half, then some kind of bridge or breakdown, and then you have the second half of the track in terms of overall sections. That's the macro structure of the track. And what I will do with this 2 halves approach, or 2 halves rule, is make sure that your second half is more interesting or different than the first half. Okay, so from a macro perspective, what I will try to do in terms of sections is, after my bridge or breakdown, not give the listener exactly the same thing I gave them during the first half. So it's not like I do a strict copy and paste and call it a day. I will still find some kind of variation, something to build interest, some kind of surprise during the second half. And here you'll see that we have a little bit of surprise because verse 2 is shorter, okay? And let's see what else. And from a macro perspective, at least that's one of the surprises or differences. Now, from a micro perspective, when I think of each section, that's looking at the micro perspective of the structure, I also think of 2 halves inside of each section. The first half, or the first 8 bars, right? I will do something, but on the second half inside the same structure, I enhance that, build it up, or introduce some kind of change. So if you take a micro look at the verse, it's not like we're going to have a 16-bar section where nothing changes inside of it. No, the first 8 bars we're going to do something, and the last 8 bars we're going to build it up or tear it down a little bit, but there has to be some variation on the second half, right? That's the micro and macro application of the 2 halves approach, or 2 halves rule. All right, enough of that. So thinking about the chorus, I just straight up copied everything here, but there's no variation. Okay, so following the two halves approach, what I'm going to do is I'm going to mute or get rid of this pad so we feel a little bit of change when the pad enters the picture. Okay, that may not sound like a lot of change or a lot of variation for a second half. We could enhance it later, or we could add something else. But for now, at least this is the basic structure of the chords. We have the bass, the drums playing, we have the keys, and this pad comes in on the second half. Okay, so we have satisfied the two halves rule. From here on out, let's see, for the chorus, I definitely, for sure, in this case at least, I want to have the bass and I want to have the drum pattern. Okay, in this part of the arrangement, this first draft, I'm going to do it very quickly like this without listening to what I'm doing. So it's like I'm laying it out on the table, just the first draft, to see how it looks, because visually you can tell if it's a good arrangement or not. We'll talk about that later. But I know that the verse, at least I want my bass and the drums to go. I know that the claps and the cowbells, these are two elements that I want to save for the chorus, right? And I don't want to have them on the verse. These elements are going to help me introduce surprise and intensity when we go from the verse to the chorus. So I don't want to have them playing on the verse. And the keys, let's say for now that I want to have the keys playing on verse 1. And the lead, I certainly don't want it to play on the verse. I'm going to reserve that for the chorus. Okay, cool. And let's see what else. I have some crashes here. I know that I want to crash towards the start of every major section. So before I forget, let me do that. And possibly every 8 bars, I also want to have a crash. And there's elements that I call attention reboots. Attention reboots or attention resets are elements that you create to reboot the attention of the listener, like every whatever bars. Typically, every 8 bars or so, you need to add something, take something away, or you use an attention reboot, like a crash, a swell, a reverse sweep, some kind of weird noise or something that takes the listener out of their trance that, like, yeah, I'm listening to this, I've listened to it a lot, on the 7th bar, okay, something new, okay, attention has been reset. That's the idea of these attention reboots or resets every 8 bars or so. Okay, so I'm gonna, like I mentioned, copy over the crashes so I don't forget about it later. Okay, that's that. And here, this section, here we have one, there, and there. Cool. We're also going to use drum fills throughout this piece, but I'm not gonna focus on that for now. All right, so this is our verse. Now, just looking at this, we're not satisfying our 2 halves rule, because just looking at it, we are playing the same thing from beginning to end, and especially in a section like this that is 16 bars long, it's going to be super boring. So definitely there has to be some kind of change. Now, maybe we could mute these keys for now, at least the first 8 bars, then introduce them on bar 8 of this section, right? And that'll help us possibly get to the end of the 16 bars of this section and still be interested and still be surprised. Okay, so maybe I think this will work. Okay, I'll listen to that later. Then for the bridge, I'm gonna leave that for later. All right. Now, when it comes to the intro, and like everything else in arrangement and composition, there's no right or wrong way to do an intro. What I recommend you do is listen to the tracks that you like by producers that you like a lot and write down what they do for an intro. And you'll hear that there are very popular themes for intros, like you just play 2 or 3 elements from your verse, naked, or let's say you start with two of those elements and you introduce them as the intro goes on. That's a very popular approach. Another popular approach is also having a couple of elements from the verse, but you use a filter, let's say a low pass filter that starts close, and you open it as the intro goes along, right? That's also a very popular approach. Another approach could be giving the listener the chorus right from the get-go and then going to the verse. That's also a good approach. So there's many ways of doing this. And typically, I don't like to think too much of the intro until I have a better picture of what I'm trying to do. In most cases, the intro is not too important. It's just a way to get us started, generate interest. So it's not the first thing that I recommend you do. Leave it for later. In this case, I think we could, because I like this loop. And actually here with the cowbells and with the claps and all that, to me it sounds very interesting. What we could do is have the drums play, and this is something that I did yesterday while I was creating the 40 bar version of this, is I'm going to have the drum pattern using the claps and the cowbells, same as the chorus, but then when we go to the verse, since I take this away, we're going to feel that the energy has dropped, and that's, whoops, and that's exactly what I want to happen. Okay, so for now, I'm going to leave the intro like that. Possibly, I could also start with the bass, just to do something different from what I did yesterday. Okay, so we're going to have the bass and the drums during the intro. For now, I'm going to leave it like that. Okay, we're going to go into the verse. We're going to drop some energy here. We're going to add the keys. This is going to increase the interest during the second half of the verse. Then we're going to go to a chorus. Cool. We have the lead and some other new elements, and the clap and the cowbell that we haven't heard before. Okay, so this first half of our track, I think it's shaping up pretty quickly and pretty nicely, right? I think we have a solid plan for how to approach this. Cool. The bridge or breakdown, I'm not sure what we're going to do, but let's assume that for verse 2, we're going to have our drum pattern. Maybe we won't, but I'm not sure. Okay, so let's copy the bass. All right. And for chorus 2, let's copy the exact same thing that we have for chorus 1. Okay. But, and let me write this down. Okay, this is the rough structure that we're following today. For verse 2, actually chorus 2, and I like to use a notepad for this kind of thing when I'm arranging and composing. For chorus 2, and I write down my ideas, I definitely want to introduce something more. Okay? I'm not sure what at this point, but that's okay. For the intro, verse, chorus, bridge, I think for the bridge, possibly, we may want to bring the track down or do like a break. Feel sparse, spacey, and then rebuild the track. Cool. For verse 2, I don't have any specific ideas at the moment. For chorus 2, I just want to introduce a new element to give it a little bit of oomph, a little bit more of energy. And for the outro, I have no idea at this point. But let's say that verse 2, since it's 8 bars long, compares to verse 1, which is 16. So I'm going to go from the get-go, verse 2, with the keys. All right. Chorus 2, we said we need another element. We'll leave that for later. And the outro, I'm not sure what we're going to do. Now, a standard approach is that I use all the time is think of the outro as the inverse of the intro, like the same elements, but if you have a filter opening during the intro, then you have a filter closing during the outro, like kind of the same thing, but the mirror perspective of what the intro is doing. So with that, let's say I'm going to copy this here. And I think that I would like to keep something going. Not sure. Maybe the pads? Not the leads. for now. Maybe I'll change my mind. Okay. And in a good 5 minutes or 10, I don't know how much we've invested in this, we have come up with a solid plan and a solid approach for our 80 bar arrangement. We'll change things as we go along, but I think this is a great way to work. And as I look at this track, the first half is doing something, the two halves rule. The second half is just a little bit different. This verse is shorter, okay. The chorus, we know that we're going to introduce a new element. I don't know what it is at this point. It doesn't matter. We'll figure it out. So the second half has a little bit more interest, is faster to get to the point than the first one. Cool. And if we look from a micro perspective at each of these sections, we see that different things are happening during the first half than the second half. For this one, something is happening. Second half, we're introducing the keys. On the chorus, we have certain things happening on the first half. The second half, we're introducing the pad, and so on and so forth. So visually, this looks like a good arrangement. Alrighty. Now let's start filling in the gaps and listening to see how this blueprint or this first draft, how it sounds. Hey guys, thank you very much for being here. Let me answer some questions. I see Paul, Kennard, Kiki's Daddy, hey guys, Uncharted Worlds, Pablo. I see a question. Can we download this template as we start point as we follow along? I don't have the Studio One template available, but feel free just to write down the bars and the sections that I was using, and you can take a screenshot of this. And if you're using Studio One, let me know, and I can certainly share the file with you. No problem at all. And I see Kennard asking, is my keyboard still in the shop? Yeah, it's still in the shop. So all the new elements that I'll create today, I would have to do it penciling in and just playing notes directly in the MIDI editor, which is a challenge for me. I prefer tactile composition. I feel it inspires me more, and I find or it's easier to me to come up with melodies and parts just by playing and fooling around than penciling them in. But in any case, see Hank, Pablo, hi guys. All right, so let's start filling the gaps and see how we like this. Okay, so let's just say that for chorus one, oh, and here's another thing that I like to do. Let me do it like this. We have the intro. We have verse 1, chorus 1, bridge, chorus 2. Here we have verse 2. And the outro. And I like to capture my ideas, and also when I feel something doesn't need any more work, I'll just write that down here like it's done, right? So that takes it off my mind that I still have to do stuff here and there. No, it's a great way for me to compartmentalize and just put it out of my active, let's say, brain patterns or the thoughts in my brain that everything needs to be finished. No. Once I go section by section, I call it done, then it's like I forget about it and move on to the next one. All right, so let's see. Let's hear chorus 1. Okay, you know what we could do here? Instead of starting with the claps from the get-go, is leaving the claps for the second half, so hopefully it feels like we have introduced a little bit more energy. Definitely. Okay, now I want to switch this drum fill for this one. Let's listen to the section one more time. We need something to reboot our attention. There we go. Okay. I got tired of this. Give me something new. Okay, cool. There it is. Nice. So, I am going to call this first chorus section, to me it sounds good. Done. Off my mind at this point. I could create some other minor attention reboots here and there, maybe like some filter sweeps, but all in all, I think the first 8 bars are interesting. Then the next 8 bars with the new elements that we brought in help to reboot our attention and to enable us to keep going 8 bars more. Good. To me, it sounds good. I'm going to leave it like that. All right, done. Now, let's work on verse 1. I feel we need an attention reboot here. Or a new element. We'll see. Okay, a couple things. First off, I need some kind of drum break towards the end of this section. And these are some drum breaks that I created yesterday for my 40 bar arrangement, that I'm just reusing today, just to save myself a little bit more time. Okay, so here's the thing. I feel that this second half sounds good. But I feel like we need maybe a few melodic notes here and there, like some kind of response, call and response thing. On its own, I think these 8 bars are okay, but maybe we could do something to bring up the intensity and the attention. And definitely the first 8 bars, I feel they are too sparse, like something else needs to happen here. Yeah, we could go on listening to these 8 bars and it's fine. But let me spice it up with something. Let me think about it. We could spice this up with one of the percussive elements, with a drum fill, or we could spice it up with some of the notes from the keys, but kind of foreshadowing what we're going to do. You know what? Let's do that. Let's reuse this, but get rid of some of these notes. So we don't use the entire thing. Okay, I like that. Okay, great. So this is a good way of introducing just a little bit of pitches, notes, chords, whatever, without giving away the full pattern. And this will help kind of foreshadow what's going to come. Because when we hear this, it's leaving a lot of space. Okay. When we get to the next section, okay, that's what I was hearing before, but only part of it. So there's a surprise here. Cool. Awesome. All right. And I also think that we could create some kind of percussive fill here and there just to help even more this first half of the verse. Let's see where. Okay, let's do here towards the end. Actually, let me get rid of this. Dun, 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 dun. Great. Nice. That'll help to keep us going. Let's listen to the verse. Cool. Attention, reboot. I feel like here I want a tom fill or a snare fill just to switch things up a little bit. And the reason that you're seeing me color clips that are part of the same lane, for example, here drums, is because I want to visually see that this drums clip is different than the others, right? The same as these tom fills. If they have a different color, it means that they're different. Because sometimes when you're zoomed out, if I were to name this tom fill 1, tom fill 2, and tom fill 3, I wouldn't be able to tell them apart, right? I would have to zoom in like this, which is annoying. So just visually, I can see that on the same lane, if the clips have different colors, they're different things, and that's cool. That helps me remember. So in this case, I want, where am I? Here. Just a tiny snare fill. Cool. Excellent. Nice. Now, verse 1, I want to foreshadow melody second half. We'll get to that. But to my ears, I wanted like a longer kind of fill here. Right. Like I needed just a little bit more energy. Let's listen to the verse again. Nice. Okay, I'm really happy with the first half of the verse. Now, the comment that I wrote here, foreshadow melody second half, even though we're increasing the intensity with the addition of the keys and with the keys alone, I still feel like I would like to foreshadow the lead somehow. So let's see. You know what? Just as the same way that we did with the keys, let me copy this, and I'm just gonna give it a different color, just so I don't forget. And get rid of some of the notes and leave some others in. And we can do a kind of call and response thing. Okay. I don't want to introduce this from the melody, so I only want to use bits and pieces to get us through to the next section. So this is going to feel like an incomplete sentence, an incomplete thought, and that's exactly what I want. I want to sow the seed of something that's to come. I don't want to give it all away. Whoops. I like it. All right. So let's listen. Okay, and here we have a drum fill. All right, let's listen to our entire verse 1 right now. Nice. I really like the verse. I don't know if you remember where we started. It's still kind of the same, but we've dressed it up, like gave it more detail, more attention. It's now much more interesting. And I haven't created any new synths, right? We are still working with the 5 original parts that we started, but I'm reusing some of what I've already created and get more mileage out of them. We're milking each part a bit more, and that's a great approach. Try to use and reuse, chop up things that you've already created and reuse them throughout the track. Very easily, I could have just fired up another synth and try to come up with something new, but in this case, I was able to get away with reusing the same thing, right? Parts of what I had already created, and that's going to help me in come mix time. Instead of mixing 25 to 30 tracks, it's still going to be very manageable because of this technique, right? Always try to reuse what you have. MacGyver's rule: use what you have and make decisions quickly. I really like how the verse is sounding. I think it's telling a cool story. We're satisfying the rule of 2 halves, right? The first half presents something, says something. The second half, we're changing it. We're introducing variation, in this case, building up the intensity towards the chorus. And I really like how it sounds when we go from the verse to the chorus. All right, cool. However, now I feel like I wanted to hear the claps. Yeah. Cool. All right. Minor tweaks like this you can do once you have called an arrangement section done, right? Okay, so to me, verse 1 is done, chorus 1 is done. The intro, I'm not going to bother with it now. Let's do something with the bridge. And we're moving very quickly, guys. You see here, it's been, what, 20 minutes since I started making music. Or 25, I don't know. And we're making really, really great progress, and this is shaping up to be a very cool 80 bar track. All right, the bridge. A very standard thing to do on the bridge, or the reason that there are bridges in tracks and in songs, the bridge is an opportunity to cleanse the palate of the listener, do something completely surprising, weird, introduce a completely different key or scale. So in the bridge, in pop and rock, it's very common that you change to a different key, or that you dial up the intensity, go to somewhere else that really resets the listener's attention so they can then hear the final rounds of chorus. That's a very standard pop and rock approach. The middle 8, it's used to cleanse the listener's palate. In electronic music and synthwave, we can do the same kind of thing, right? And so our bridge, we could keep the intensity going, but just do something different, or we could go to a different scale or key, or we could really bring the energy down and think of it kind as rebooting the track, right? Like a re-intro of the track of sorts. In this case, I see Pablo there saying that he liked what I did yesterday as the bridge for the 40 bar track. I don't remember what I did. Man, it's incredible that I make so much music like every day that I don't remember what I did 24 hours ago. It just, naturally you solve the problems that are in front of you, and it's nothing out of the ordinary. So I think, if I recall correctly, we just kept the kick and the hi-hat going, and then we added some elements. But let me just think of this for a second. Okay, this is the bridge. What's the next section? What is this bridge gonna bridge over into? Okay, this is the reason why I don't like to get ahead of myself and do too much before I listen to how things are flowing. In my mind, I heard this bridge like a very cool percussive break with a lot of stuff, right? And kind of like the dance break in the in this short movie. If you think of, I don't know, Lionel Richie's All Night Long, something like that, very festive, very bright, with a lot of drums going on. If I do that, right, then going into this verse could be kind of a letdown because we built up the intensity, now we bring it down. It could feel weird, right? So if I make a bridge that's very high in energy, I might consider extending the bridge and going from 8 bars to 16 and getting rid of verse 2, going straight into chorus 2. Or if I do a kind of mellow bridge, that could still work in rebooting the track and still keeping verse 2, because we're kind of reintroducing the track once more, right? So, and also this is the kind of element, the mystery, the surprise that I like to find or discover when I'm arranging and composing my full-length tracks. I really like to try things out and leave some room for trial and error. Now, I think I'm gonna try the festive, high-energy kind of approach and see if I can find a way to solve the puzzle, right? And then we'll figure out whether we extend this section and get rid of verse 2, or if we can make this happen in 8 bars and still keep verse 2, or how to address that. All right, I'll look into it later, not at the moment. Let's use what we have and make decisions quickly. MacGyver's rule. All right. We could. Let's keep the cowbell and wrong keystroke. Oops. That. Okay. Let's assume we're going to keep going the percussion. It's going to keep going. Okay, I hear that if I follow this approach, I could keep this going very sparse for like 4 bars and then introduce the kick and something else. For that idea to work, it's going to take me 16 bars. I can't make it happen in 8. I could, and I think it would be more interesting to have a longer bridge, high energy, and then go straight into the chorus, then bring the energy down and reboot by going to verse 2. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag this out. And I'm going to assume that this break is going to be 16 bars. Okay. And let's see how we like it. Possibly, I want my drums to start on the second half. The 2 halves rule. This will keep going. Great. definitely, we need to do something here to reboot the attention and keep going. But I'll worry about the first half later. Let me think about the second half. What elements do I want to play? Do I want to be playing here? For sure, I think I'd like a bass. But do I want the bass playing the full pattern, or just like staying on the root note of the of the progression? I think, let me try this. And I don't want to play the whole thing. What about bum bum bum? Alright, I think I want to keep the bass doing this, so when we go into the chorus, we haven't given away the progression, and the progression will sound fresh, right? We're really getting into, I don't know, Miami Sound Machine, conga territory, or like I said, Lionel Richie, and that's fine, you know, it's cool. That's what I like about making music like this. You never know where you're gonna end up. You just go with the flow. Wherever the music takes you, man, just go along, right? I don't care if this is synthwave or not synthwave. It's synthwave adjacent. The music that I make is not 100% middle of the road synthwave anyway, so I don't care. Just do what's in your heart. Let it come out. And certainly for this part, I want some kind of chords or notes, or I need pitches just to be playing here. We could get away with okay, hold on. And I know that towards the end of this section, I definitely want a tom break. Okay, and what if we used the pad here? I don't like it. Or let me table this for a second. What if we used the keys? But again, just foreshadowing what's to come. And what if we mimic what the bass is doing? So let me bring the bass here so I can see where the notes are landing. Right? I think that'll work. Whoops. And what if we... Let me use an inversion so we have a bit of a higher note in there to give more energy, interest, and intensity. Okay, for now I think it'll work. Why not? Okay, that's that. Let's come back to this pad. No, I want something like an escalator effect where the pad will start somewhere and we play notes higher and higher in pitch to suggest that something is coming to amp up the intensity. Kind of, but it's still like, I don't know, too weak. I like this idea. For now, I'm gonna move on. I think it's still lacking intensity. Possibly, I saw there in the chat someone suggesting a bandpass sweep or something. Yeah, I think we'll need something like that. But for now, let me just listen to where we are in terms of the bridge. Oops. Okay, let's do this. Introduce the bass early on. In here. This is an idea that I did yesterday. And the second time around, I want a tom fill here. And this second time around, I'm gonna play the kick on every 4. Which, yeah, Pablo is the same thing I did yesterday. I remembered. Alright. Let's see. Or, let's do one better. Way better. Now you see, this is a very meta thing, but it's almost Inception. The two halves approach, we have this section split in 2, okay, first half and second half. And the first half of this section, we're also splitting it in 2. So it's like the first half of the first half and the second half of the first half, right? We're really going crazy with this concept, and it really helps, like, get you out of a bind. Woohoo! Right. Come to the take you to the ganga, come on to the yeah, that just happened. Alright. I hear a cool drum fill over here. Let me take some water. Hold on, where am I? Nice. Oh man. And you know what? Let's go crazy here and do like a little roll. Alright. I turned off snap to grid so I could create this roll the way that it sounds in my mind. Very cool. And let me bring down the velocity of these just a little bit. Very nice. Yeah. All night long. All night long. All night. I was just singing, I didn't pay any attention. Man, I love this job, guys. Nice. Oh, and I hear something. Doom, 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 doom. Yeah. Everything counts in large amounts, in the wise words of Depeche Mode. I'm really feeling this, guys. Okay, I think the first part of the bridge is in really good shape. The second part is where I still have doubts. I still need a little bit more oomph somewhere. This part, I think it's fine. Okay, let's do this. Okay, you know what? Maybe, just maybe, I need a brass sound to play chords with to play the same thing. Because I've been using Juno so much, let's keep using Juno. All right, so I'm going to call this brass. Let me just make sure that this is routed to the right place. Synth bus. Okay, so where am I? Okay, here. Let's look for a preset. But let's see. Nice. Control copy, Control Shift B. Okay. Let's try on some patches. User brass. Something powerful. Let's hear it in context. No. I think this is more like it. Yeah. I think we're getting close with this one. Let's see. Yeah, I like it. All right, I like it. I like it. Let's listen to the bridge once more, top to bottom. And I think for now, I'm gonna, if not call it ready, then move on. Yeah, for now I'm gonna call it done. You know, I like it. For this exercise, yeah, I'm gonna call it done, ladies and gentlemen. And certainly, I don't want to go from this high intensity section to this verse because it feels kind of like a downer. So I'm gonna, not what I wanted. Okay. Delete. Weird. Doesn't matter. And, oh, here's some remnants of that. Okie doke. Okay. Nice. You see, because the bridge starts out, we're bringing it from the bottom up to a very high intensity place. It sounds nice to go from that straight into the chorus. Nice. We'll still figure out if we need to finesse this transition a little bit more, but as it is, and at least for this exercise, for me, it works very well. And so we have the outro to take care of. Oh, and I thought we said we needed another element for chorus 2. Okay, so verse 2 is gone. Nice. We still have the intro, chorus 2, a new element or something, and the outro. Wow, we've only been at this for like an hour and we've accomplished so much. We went from that initial 8-bar loop into this thing that has taken a life of its own, like really, really cool. I'm gonna take a 2-minute break and then come back and we'll finish this off with the parts that remain. All right, my friends, on the original live stream of this session, when I came back from the break, I forgot to switch to showing my screen recording for like 40 minutes or so, almost until I was completely done with it. What I'm gonna do now is I'm going to walk you through the final arrangement and show you part by part all the plugins that I use and why I created this final arrangement, section by section. Then we'll listen to the entire arrangement, top to bottom, and I'll say goodbye. And just as a reference, and in case you're interested in listening to that, I will leave the last 40 minutes of me talking through how I created this arrangement and the final ideas, where you only see my face there talking about it. You'll hear the music, but only see my face. I'll leave that as the final section of this video. So if you want to watch it, cool. And if you don't want to watch it, then just finish after the official playthrough. So here's our arrangement, and I'm going to play it section by section and explain the ins and outs. Okay, on these 8 bars, what I decided to do was start with these keys, which is a part or a synth that we had already playing somewhere else, but I just came up with these chords that I believe I reused from here. Well, no, they look a little different, but in any case, I'm just trying to. I wanted these chords to start the track, and as you can hear, they're being filtered in. I just drew some automation here. Opening the filter cutoff, and I'm using this filter shaper XL plugin. You can use whatever filter plugin you have available. So this plays for 8 bars, and I didn't want to give away the entire cowbell and clap patterns on the intro. So what I did is the first half of the intro, we only have the keys being filtered in. Then we have a tom fill signaling that something is going to change or something's going to be introduced. And on the second half of the intro, we have the bass coming in, but only playing the root notes. So it feels like it's on a standby or holding pattern, waiting for something to happen. And the version of the drums that we start out with consists only of kick and hi-hat, just as we have on the bridge, along with the clap pattern. And a drum fill. Excellent. And regarding the keys, just in case I didn't explain this before, we have an EQ bracketing the keys, meaning I'm chopping off the low frequencies and the high frequencies because I don't want the keys to step all over my other parts. Then we have a delay in ping pong mode or stereo mode. In this case, it's set to stereo mode. I like this LA2A compressor emulation just to make the sound more solid and to kind of pin it where it is. This is a very easy to use compressor. Just tweak this knob or push this knob until you get the gain reduction that you're looking for. And like I mentioned, we have the filter shaper, or just this filter for this filter opening effect. Great. In terms of the bass, I only have EQ chopping off everything below 60 hertz, and also an LA2A emulation to give the bass more solidity and to make it feel more robust. Great. Now let's take a look at the verse. The verse here, following my 2 halves approach or principle. For the first half of the verse, we have the bass now playing the chord pattern. Okay, we have the drums, full drums. That's our drum groove. And towards the end of the first half, we have a snare roll or snare fill there. Again, just to anticipate the second half of and that something's going to change, that something is coming, along with this cowbell pattern. Let's see what else. So here during the verse, I didn't want to give away the cowbell pattern that we're playing on the chorus, which is a constant playing pattern. So what I chose to do is I copied this pattern over here to the verse, but chopped it up and created something that plays just at the end of every 4 bars to refresh our ears and to serve as an attention reboot. Very subtle, but it definitely helps. So that's the first half of the verse. Oh, and I forgot to mention as well, the keys, instead of playing the full-on pattern that we play here, following the chords, during the first half of the verse, I just wanted the keys to play something more sparse. Again, as not to give away the entire thing. But during the second half of the verse, we go to the full pattern. Okay, and like I've been explaining, it's always a case, at least for me, of thinking of two halves. Each section has two halves. The first section, we present something, it has certain elements, but then how can we make the second half of the same section more interesting? Typically, we can do that by adding something, taking something away, increasing the intensity, or dialing down the intensity. And here I just felt that if I had the same key or the full keys pattern playing from the beginning of the verse, it's like I didn't know how else to increase the intensity here without adding more elements. Okay, so this is a great way to reuse the same elements, but to increase intensity is by making them more sparse at the beginning and then more intense towards the end. Also, on the second half of the verse, we have this lead. Which is taking the full lead from the chorus, and I just chopped most of these notes here to foreshadow that something is coming. So I didn't create any new music for this verse lead. It's just copying what I was using on the chorus and leaving more space. Excellent. That's the verse, and here I don't see any kind of automation or anything. Great. Now the first chorus. The first chorus is very simple, and this is just exactly like my original main stack, but also following the two halves approach. During the first half, we have the drums, the bass, as they had been playing during the first verse. We have the keys, same as the first verse. We have the lead coming in, which these lead bits during the verse were foreshadowing. But what I decided to do is, instead of starting out with a pad on the downbeat of the chorus, I left this pattern for the second half. Again, present something on the first half, then how can you make the second half more intense or sound different? So here I have certain elements that play on the first half, including the clap and the cowbell. And during the second half, the only thing I did was just add these pads, which add a little bit of energy. Simple enough. And there's no automation here during the chorus. I could have, I think, possibly, maybe, automated the level of the pads, just so they would be a little louder here. Maybe. But possibly that's something that I would have looked to try if I were investing, let's say, 3 or 4 hours into creating and perfecting this 80 bar arrangement. I would have certainly tried that. All right, now the bridge. Let's take a listen. Excellent. That's the bridge. And let's take it apart piece by piece. Because I think this is one of the sections where I did like the most arrangement on. Excellent. So again, the two halves approach. The first half of the bridge, we're presenting something, and then we're dialing up the intensity during the second half. And the choices that I made were this. So when we go from chorus 1, there's high intensity, high energy levels. I wanted to very abruptly bring the energy down, and that's what I wanted to accomplish with such a sparse beginning for the bridge. So here we only have there's a crash, hi-hats going, the full-on cowbell pattern, and the claps. And as you can hear, we start out without a kick on the drums, but then we start somewhere around here playing a on every downbeat. And here, this kick pattern is accelerating, which is telling our ears that something is coming. Listen to this. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again. Excellent. With the tom fill. And then for the next 4 bars, we have the bass coming in with the standby pattern, which is only playing the root note of our scale, E minor. And now this pattern has the kick on every downbeat. Okay, so this first half of the bridge is mostly percussion and bass, okay? But, like I said, I wanted to dial up the intensity during the second half. So here I thought about how to introduce chords or melodic elements, something else that would give more oomph and energy to the second half of the bridge. So what I came up with is this idea of playing the keys, but not the full-on pattern from the chorus, but just a sparser pattern, which I think is what I used here during the intro. Great. Still, it doesn't feel like it's full-on energy, but because we changed to the drum pattern with the snare and the 2 and 4, it definitely feels with more energy. Okay, more solid, more grooving. And on the second half of the second section, the last quarter, I also wanted to dial up the intensity some more, so I came up with this brass patch playing an E minor chord, but then adding notes to it on the downbeat of every new bar, and then we're playing this rhythmic pattern. Let me play you this thing. Because I really wanted to feel the end of the bridge as something new is coming, something big. So this is how this sounds with all the music. You know what? Now that I listen to this chord's stab here is kind of fighting with the brass. What I'm gonna do is just delete this stab. Nice. And same here, I'm gonna have this chord land on the downbeat. Okay. And I'm gonna have this follow the rhythm of the brass stabs. All right, great. Now everything is in alignment. Cool. Okay, let's listen to the bridge from top to bottom. And I didn't create any automation here. What you see is what you get. And one thing that I mentioned during the arrangement process is that originally, if you remember, we had a verse, like a verse 2 here. And what I was saying as I created this was I felt that the bridge had a lot of energy towards the end. And if we were to transition from the bridge to the verse, it would feel like a downer. It didn't feel right to me. So I made the decision of getting rid of that verse 2 and extending the bridge to 16 bars, right? So we would go from the bridge, which is high energy, straight into chorus number 2 to maintain that energy. And so it wouldn't feel so much as a downer, and so it wouldn't drag the track down. And these are the kinds of decisions that you can make along the way. Remember, I started with this skeleton or blueprint structure, and I clearly said, and I'll listen to things, and if along the way I feel something needs to change, then I will do it. So I got rid of that section. Let's listen to the bridge, top to bottom. Very nice space. Let's pick up. We feel something's coming. Let's dial up the intensity a little. Cool. Let's dial it some more. Excellent. Let's take a look now at chorus number 2. Visually, it looks the exact same as chorus number 1. All the elements seem to be the same. Okay. The pad, we're also starting it on the second half. Now, I see here a difference. Okay. Same deal with the 2 halves approach. The first half of chorus number 2 is exactly like the first half of chorus number 1. But on the second half of chorus number 2, in addition to having pads come in, I wanted to dial the intensity just a little bit more so it wouldn't sound exactly as chorus number 1. And I came up with the idea of playing these brass stabs. And for the most part, these brass stabs are playing just an E minor chord. Well, E minor 7. Except here, where we hear that we play a different chord. This is the E sus4, if I'm not mistaken. But back to E minor 7. So this is how it sounds in context. It's just playing accents and reinforcing the groove. And that's the only thing different that I did to chorus 2, so let's listen to it top to bottom. But again, I always try to do something different the second time that I play something. It would have been completely okay if I didn't include these brass stabs, because it had been a while since we listened to chorus 2, right? But like I said, I'm always looking to add something extra every new round that I present something. So let's listen to the chorus top to bottom. Chorus 2. Alright, and I just came up with an idea. Let me add a stereo delay just to create a Hass effect, a pseudo stereo. So when the stabs come in, we hear them hard panned left and right, not in the center. Much better. Okay. And another way to improve this 80 bar arrangement, if I had more time, again, if I were spending 4 or 5 hours on this alone, probably I would have automated the pads just a little bit. I would lower their level, maybe bring the brass stabs just a little louder for this section, but leave them where they are during the bridge, and see if I can find ways of possibly giving more clarity to the lead once the pad and the brass stabs are playing. Definitely, I would increase the level of the lead like 1 or 2 dB, possibly bring the pad down, automate it down like 1 dB, and maybe bring the brass stabs up 1 dB or 2. But I would have played with automation to find the best way to still make this second half intense, but not get the lead drowned in these other sounds that are coming in. But as they are, they work fine. It doesn't bother me too much. All right, and in terms of the outro, let's see. It's different from the intro in many ways. A tried and true approach that I like to do for these kinds of exercise and many times in my tracks is the outro. Think of it as the inverse of the intro. So I have the same kinds of the same elements, and if I open the filter during the intro, I'll close it during the outro to the same element, or maybe a fade out or a filter out of the entire mix. For this one, I really wanted to keep with the full-on drums going, which is something that I didn't do in the intro, and at least during the first half, and then going down to the only kick and hats. Okay, but I wanted to keep going with the claps and the cowbell pattern. I got rid of the keys during the outro, but the pad keeps on playing, which is something that we didn't have on the intro. And the lead stops during the outro, and we have the brass stabs. They keep going, but only for the first half of the intro. Sorry, the outro. And another thing, initially the outro, I had its length at 8 bars, but I increased it 4 more bars as I implemented this fade out to my entire mix. I thought that 8 bars was just too abrupt. Possibly it is still a little too abrupt, but for this exercise, it'll work just well. So let's listen to the outro. Changing the drum pattern, fade out. Yeah, this is why I needed those extra 4 bars here. All in all, it works quite well. Excellent. Let me see some other stuff that I wanted to cover before the final playback of the entire track, top to bottom. On my drums bus, where I have all my drum sounds and drum reverbs, and even my bass being fed into, I love to have some EQ bracketing the high end and the low end. I added a tape emulation plugin to add a little bit of saturation, coloration. Also a vintage drive plugin. Whatever saturation plugin you have available will work just fine. Then I have a bus compressor using similar settings to when I compress drums, which is 30 milliseconds attack, 100 milliseconds release, a ratio of 2:1, and the threshold just enough to get around 2 dB of gain reduction, sometimes more. That's fine, 2 dB of gain reduction. So this is my drums bus. I have something similar going on in my synth bus. Again, I take all my synths and synth effects like reverb and feed them into the synth bus. And here I also have tape drive, and a bus compressor with similar settings. 1.5 ratio. This one is set to a slow attack and 100 milliseconds recovery or release. And the same deal, just getting about 2 dB of gain reduction or sometimes less. And on my master bus, I also have a little bit of EQ bracketing the low end and the high end, tape, some saturation or transformer plugin, and a bus compressor to glue the whole thing together with similar settings that I showed on my synth bus and drums bus. It's 30 milliseconds attack, 100 milliseconds release, ratio 1.5, and the threshold low enough to get me between 2 to 4 decibels of gain reduction. And the makeup just high enough or adding enough to bring back the level that we lost during compression. But very simple stuff. It's all very gentle. It's nothing out of the ordinary or completely squashing the mix. This was the final walkthrough of all the sections of the track. Now what I will do is play this thing from top to bottom without any further explanations or talking, and then I'll see you on the other side. So there you have it, my friends. An 80 bar arrangement in around 2 hours with a lot of talk. This was a lot of fun, and if you've already made enough 40 bar arrangements, the basic kata, you're ready to tackle the advanced kata, the 80 bar arrangement, like I just showed you. And once you get comfortable with that, if you make 10, 15, or 20 of those over the next couple of months, if you make 5 or 10 of these, as I would say you're ready to tackle full-length tracks without a problem. Let me know if you have any questions or comments. Thank you very much, guys, for sticking out with me. Keep synthwaving, my friends. Keep synthwave alive. Ciao. Alright. I see here Kennard asking, why not try building up a chord, introducing a new note at each measure? Yeah, let's try that. See how we like it. Kind of like the David Bowie Let's Dance rising part, or Twist and Shout by the Beatles, which is where he got it from. The let's dance. Alright, let's do something like that. But let me move this out of the way just to keep our original version. And so our chord is G minor, E, G, B. Okay, so let me do this. Not sure if I should hold down the notes or chord. Let's just do a sustained chord like this. Let's see. It's not sounding like I thought it would in my head. Let me just see. E, G, B, E, G, B. It's actually not bad. Okay, let me extend these notes and maybe introduce some tension. Maybe. I think we're getting close. Not bad. What about this? Not sure if we're gonna hear it because of the patch. What if everyone plays this little figure? Okay, where am I? Alright. Okay, it's bothering me that these sustained notes are muddying up the arrangement. I think I don't need them to be so long. Maybe like stabs at first. Maybe that's too short. Like that. I like this. Whoops. Yeah, I like it. Yeah. Not sure if they're still too long. Yeah, you know what? It's like I want them to be just a little longer. Yeah. All right. For whatever reason, let me just save this somewhere. Okay. I think I like it. Woohoo! Yeah. Cool. Let's work on chorus 2. Let me capture something down that I feel like the drum fills could be louder. They're getting lost in the mix a little bit. I'll leave that for later. Cool. Okay, we said we needed more intensity here. So what if we do something with the brass now that we've created this new sound? Because I do feel like just adding this pad is not enough. So it could be something like a counter melody or a parallel melody, or maybe just adding the brass will be exactly what the doctor ordered. Not sure. Let's see. Maybe I don't need so long a release here. Why do I hear this super long release? Ah. You fooled me, Juno. The VCA is set to envelope 2. So I was bringing down the wrong release. Yeah. Okay, cool. Not so abrupt. Better. What if instead of playing stabs or chords, what if I did like some kind of arpeggiated pattern, or like a ostinato, which is a repeating pattern. Okay, where am I? Here. 16th notes. Give me 8 notes. Maybe not exactly that, but no, this is clashing with the syncopation on the other elements. So I would have to follow that kind of pattern. Okay, I could do something like the keys are doing. But let me do a pedal point where I only play E minor 7. Here, definitely. These horns, brass, these are definitely helping. Yep. Certainly. Okay, let me duplicate that. Definitely. Let me keep going with these stabs here. Just trying to arrange the outro very quickly. Oh yeah, you know what? I think that'll work. But let me use this one. And here, I'm just going to extend the outro for 4 more bars, and we'll fade this thing out. And I think it'll work just fine. Yeah, the outro, I'm gonna do a fade out. All right, introduce something new. We've already done that. Let me just take another listen to the chorus. Here I want a different drum fill. Yeah, works for me. here, I'll start fading it out. Okay, so I'm happy with chorus 2, happy with the outro. Only the fade out is needed. Now let's go back to the intro and see where we are. Now, I don't feel like I want to start full-on drums. Same as the bass. I don't feel that anymore. Yeah. So this is gone. This is gone. Let me get rid of that. And why not use this idea? No, not this one. The other one, maybe. Okay, definitely we're gonna need a drum fill. And maybe I don't want to give away the chord progression there. Reuse this from the bridge. This is one of the reasons why I said don't tackle your intro first. Wait until later, and you'll see that you can reuse a lot of other stuff that you did later, and you'll have a better picture of how to do your intro once you know how the rest of the track goes. This is too abrupt. Okay, there's a couple of issues that we need to solve for here. Like this is too abrupt, so we need possibly a drum fill to transition in a smoother way. Oops, where am I? Sixteenth notes is what I need. Ba-bum boom. Ba-bum boom. Ba-bum boom boom. Ba-bum boom. Boom. Ba-bum boom boom. Ba-bum boom. Ba-bum boom boom. Do-dum-dum. Do-dum-dum. Right? Cool. I feel like we're rushing the intro a little bit. Like if this were a full-length track, I would have extended it maybe 4 bars more. But I think for this exercise, it's going to be just fine. I do feel like we need something here. I'm not sure what. Maybe we can reuse something from the bridge as well. maybe these keys. And what if we start with the keys? Yeah, much better. I like it. I like how we build a little bit of interest and intensity during the intro, but then we bring it down during the verse so we have room to go somewhere. I like that. And let's apply a filter on this thing. Let's automate the cutoff. And we'll play with it until we find a curve or a sound, a behavior that we like. Hold on, something's off here. Something's amiss. Oh yeah, this thing is, hold on. Let me get rid of this. Yeah. Let's do 24 dB per octave. All right, now let's automate this thing. Same idea, second try. Not everything works as you expect the first time around. It was just that the filter was, I thought it would open to full, but it was still halfway. Getting this right could take some time, so I'm just gonna go with something that kind of works. And not try to be a perfectionist about it. Okay, I think we're in the right direction. I want it to be more open here towards the end. And like I said, this is the kind of thing that could take a long while to nail exactly how you want it. So good enough is going to be good enough for today. Yeah, I like it. And maybe not. Let me try this out. What if I didn't use these at all? I think I do like it better like this. Maybe with the claps here. Yeah, so as to not give away the cowbell. Yeah, I like it. And for this exercise, it's good enough. So you know what? I'm gonna call the intro done. Yeah? Alright, the only thing we're missing before we do just a little bit of mixing, let's work on the fade out, but all in all, okay, so we have the drum fills could be louder, that's part of the mixing process. But all in all, I'm really happy where this is going. Here's our lane. Maybe start the fade out just a little earlier. Yeah, this sounds pretty good to me. Great, so let's work on a little bit of mixing. Let me go to the chorus section, but the second half of this chorus section. Let me loop this thing. See where we are. This is the bus compressor on the drums. Yeah, I like how it sounds. This is the bus compressor for my synths. And Let's apply a little bit of tape, saturation, and bus compression on our master fader. Okay. In general terms, I like very much where this is. Let me just do a couple. The channels here are kind of pre-mixed because of the 40 bar arrangement that I did yesterday, so they already have most of them have EQ and compression. So I'm just going to focus on the new channels that I created today, which are the brass and something else. Okay, so the brass, I definitely want to bracket the high end and the low end. I don't need most of the low end and the high end on this thing. Gonna apply some compression. Then LA2A emulation. Just enough peak reduction until I see here 7, -7, -5. Bring back the gain. Just to stabilize the sound, make it thicker, more solid, not necessarily to have it stick out more. Add some EQ to this one. Same deal, we're gonna bracket it. The low end, the high end. Cool. I think this is banging, my friends. Now let's take care of the drum fills. Maybe I don't need automation, but only to raise the level of the toms, that's all. Let's see. Okay, I have this toms VCA fader, which is, think of it as a group for the toms, so I can control their level with just one fader. It sounds like the intro of the Miami Vice theme. Wow, 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 wow. I don't want to go crazy with the volume of the toms, but right there, sounds very good to me. Now, the thing to watch out for with the toms is that in this section, where we have a lot of elements going on, I set the level to where it feels right. But if we go to another section where we have fewer elements, then there's a high degree of probability that the toms will sound too loud. And that's where we'll use automation, because if I then lower the fader there, but then raise it again, it's like I'm chasing my tail, right? So I'm gonna set my level to where the level of the toms to where I like it here, and if I need to adjust the level on other parts, I'll do that with automation. So let's just check. Right here is fine, and I was like, whoa, why did we lose so much level? Yeah, it's because we're fading out here. Cool. Okay, so toms. Let's listen to the toms right here. Sounds good. Not overpowering. Sounds good. Sounds good. Cool. Loud and strong. I like my drums. A very drums forward mix. Yeah. Yeah. Guys, I really can't believe how much we've accomplished in 2 hours. Wow. Okay, let me listen to this. Oh, sounds fine. Sounds fine. Fine. Yeah, I like it. We don't need to adjust the level of the toms with automation. Okay, so all in all, for 2 hours of work, I am really happy with this. I'm gonna do just a quick review of the sections here and there before we do a final playthrough. And like I said at the beginning, if I were to really do this as a real exercise, not as a live stream here on YouTube for all of you, I could spend at least a good hour or more on really making sure that the levels are right, that maybe I would use some filter sweeps or reverse crashes here and there, and I don't know, possibly with an hour more of work, I could even make it sound better. But 80-20 Pareto principle, to me this sounds very good for doing all this in a 2 hour time frame. Sounds very, very nice. All right, let me see if there are any questions here before I tackle last minute changes.